How is everything?
Everything is super good.
Not with me. I got a lot of problems nobody else has.
I hate when you find like a tick in your car. It really ticks you off. Anyway, welcome to Pleasant Evenings Book Club. This is Hannah, as always. Joining us tonight, as per usual, is Roberto and Corbin. You guys want to say hi?
Hello.
Hi there.
Great. So tonight we are discussing A Scanner Darkly. It is a film adaptation of a Philip K. Dick novel about drugs and surveillance. So, yeah, that's what we'll be discussing tonight. I think without further ado, I'll kind of hand it off to Roberto for the summary.
Yeah, this is a really nice movie. A little bit of background. The novel is based on is seen as being maybe the most autobiographical of Philip K. Dick's published works. And supposedly is the one that he did, the first novel that he did without any amphetamines.
Nice. We love amphetamines.
Yeah. But I wonder if that gave him like enough distance to like see things with new eyes or something.
Right.
Had done a lot of drugs. This is a story of it's set 7 years from the present. Movie came out in 2006, but it just says it takes place 7 years from now. And it's about a group of people addicted to this fictional drug called Substance D, and kind of like how their relationships deteriorate or kind of play out. In particular, our main character, played by Keanu Reeves, Bob/Fred, who is actually an undercover cop investigating this group of people to try to go up the chain of like their dealer, his girlfriend Donna, to try to hopefully make a dent on the war on drugs. Part of how he does this is that he's at the police precinct wearing something like an invention called the scramble suit, which ensures his anonymity. We can go into like what the scramble suit is a little later. It's kind of like this like full body suit that blends facial features and clothes and other details from like 1,000,001 people to make a kind of anonymous blur of, just like the idea of a person. So the idea is that no one there at the police precinct knows who he is to protect his identity as an undercover agent. And things start getting extra paranoid or extra stressful for Bob/Fred when he is assigned especially to surveil himself, his alter ego in that group of drug addicts who live in his house. So a lot of the movie is like it follows just like follows like their different antics. Like they go out on a trip and the car breaks down, or one of them buys a bike. But it also follows his cognitive decline until he eventually burns out and is taken to the single rehab facility that specializes on Substance D, that has a special deal with the government, where it's revealed that his girlfriend Donna, that he thought he was investigating and buying drugs from to go up the ladder, was actually her superior at the police station, and they were hoping to burn him out while conditioning him to gather evidence in his burned out state while he's at this rehab facility. So it ends with Donna, the superior, feeling very conflicted about what they'd done, as well, and with Bob Arthur, Fred, and his new identity at the rehab facility, Bruce. Following through on that, though we don't see how that's gonna play out. So that's kind of a brief overview. But I think like the meat of the story is in these interpersonal relationships, as well as in the way that the world is fleshed out.
Right.
In the background details. Like a big aspect of it is that this is, like Philip K. Dick would have been extrapolating from the kind of surveillance that leftist organizations were under the Nixon years, and Richard Linklater in this movie in 2006 is obviously, thinking about what the future is like, is extrapolating from the total surveillance that you would see after the, from the Patriot Act and, just general
Right.
technological, like, surveillance capitalism.
Right.
Any, would you say, like, those are the essential details here? We can, like, start going in more, like, more with a finer comb.
I think you've sort of covered the broad strokes of the story. What did you guys think of the animation style?
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful. To me, like, that's, like, I'd never heard of Philip K. Dick or Richard Linklater before this movie. I had seen School of Rock, but I was a kid. I didn't associate that with a name.
Right.
But seeing a movie with a look like this really got me curious, and like I became mildly obsessed with this movie as a kid. I didn't have access to foreign DVDs.
Right.
Foreign to me. Whatever.
Right.
But as far as like the effect that it has, it's great in terms of like knocking you off center as you watch it. It puts you in this kind of dissociated state, or the sort of hallucinogenic state where nothing really feels real all the time.
Right.
And then I think like even like just the mechanics of it kind of work as a metaphor. So there's a animation style called rotoscoping where you record like video and then a team of artists draw over it, tracing over the video as reference. So you get a more realistic style of animation and attention to detail. That as a metaphor, it kind of writes itself, right? You just have this this base reality and then this enhancement on top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
I'll be honest. I've seen this style of animation before, and hadn't liked it. In terms of this context, I buy it, but I don't know. Like I said, jarring, dissociative feeling that I had seen a similar animation style before. Maybe not necessarily enjoy it.
Right.
Mm. Is it like a worst of both worlds kind of thing for you?
Yeah. Yes. In short, totally. Like if you're going to do animation, go all out on it. If you're going to add realism, make it live action. I'm not sure.
See, I conversely, I think for a movie about like drug-fueled paranoia and like uncanny hallucinations, like it did a really good job of conveying both of those things to me, who has experienced drug-fueled paranoia and uncanny hallucinations. And in that respect, I think it kind of nailed it.
No, in the context for sure.
Right.
Just the style, though. Generally, that mixed method I don't usually like.
Oh, and I was curious, like what your prior exposure to rotoscope had been. Like I have a short list of a canon of rotoscope works. That's pretty short, so I was wondering where
Specifically,
what it was for you.
The only standout thing that I had saw previously was Undone.
Oh yeah,
Which maybe
I've seen that.
I don't like it. It was a series, and those are a little bit longer to sit through a whole season than a 2-hour movie.
What about Waking Life?
Right, from Linklater.
Was
That was his first go.
Was that him? Okay, Okay, that makes a lot of sense. I think I've seen that, but I think I was so fucking high when I saw it that I don't remember any of it. Because I remember sitting down to watch it with somebody, but then I don't remember it taking any information in, you know? Like, just enough to remember what it approximately was. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That's one of those movies. You know when you're a kid and you're like, you go to the speak American to you. You go to the Blockbuster. You drive your automobile to the Blockbuster, and you're walking through like maybe the horror section or just like different areas in the Blockbuster, and there's just certain like covers, or maybe like the employee is playing a movie that you don't know what it is, and it's just like not the movie, but the potential of the movie is burned into your mind.
Right.
That was an experience I had with Waking Life. Like before that, it planted a curiosity bug, because it was like there was an ad for it, and it was like playing on pay-per-view when I was a kid, and I would see the advertisement for it, and again I would see this. I think like I'm the opposite of Corbin in that something about that art style just really made me curious. Like, I always liked animation. It was like a type of animation that I'd never seen before.
Yeah, I'm neutral to it. I think that when it's, you know, executed well, like, you know, it's useful. I think it's good. Like, I obviously liked a lot in this movie, A Scanner Darkly. So
yeah, when it's appropriate. Like, I think for Waking Life, it really works because it's a depiction of a dream, or many dreams. I don't know. It's like it's about dreams. So it helps with that. It works with season 1 of Undone very well, because as you go through the show, spoiler, skip ahead if you don't want Undone spoiled. It's introduced in the first season. I guess like the whole story. It's revealed that the character, like, schizophrenia runs in her family, and so a lot of the things that happen then are like you interpret them through that lens.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so it works especially well for this middle space between reality and fantasy.
But you couldn't just do like Naruto this way, or else it would just be terrible. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a very niche, acceptable space for...
I think one of the things that really works for it is... that it really works for is when that reality kind of breaks a little bit. Like when you get the hallucination of, oh man, I'm forgetting what's Robert Downey Jr.'s name in the movie.
It was
Barris.
Yeah,
Barris, I think.
Oh yeah, when like
Barr.
Yeah, when he like turns into a bug.
Yeah.
Or like I guess the other bit with Barris when Freck is like having lunch with him, and you get the thought bubbles pop up. Like, Freck is imagining what Barris is thinking, and he's imagining the waitress like taking off her shirt.
Right.
Like, and you get to have like these very cartoonish thought bubbles pop up, and Robert Downey Jr. is like making these like exaggerated like Wolf from those cartoons. Like, he's like making these like disgusting horny man faces.
Yeah, you know, I was surprised by how funny the movie was at points. Like, even when, Freck tries to kill himself, it just ends in a joke where he takes, like, a bunch of hallucinogens by accident, and then, like, a man made of cheese or something reads him his sins, you know? Like, and, like the punchline is that he's glad he got a good glass of wine, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's there's a tragic like comedy to it that he's doing the serious thing, but throughout the whole thing is there's all these little fuck ups, but just like the little things, like he spent more time thinking about how he was gonna do it. Like, are you gonna get a nice suit? And he writes an unfinished letter to Exxon for canceling his gas, and wanted to die holding a copy of the fountain.
Yeah.
because it would achieve something,
Right.
but like I have no idea. Like it's just like like
Right.
like a parody of depth that he's portraying, like playing out.
Right.
Like he ended up in hell, and most of all, it's boring to him. After 1,000 years, he had reached the 6th grade, the year he discovered masturbation.
At least he had a good glass of wine.
Yeah, there were so many great. There's a lot of great dialogue.
So this is what I was gonna say before, but I really like the way it brings I really like the way it like elevates like the paranoia that comes from like doing drugs to like actual reality, you know? Like anybody who's like smoked a lot of weed or like done acid or anything like that knows exactly like the kind of mindset that these people fall into.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Of just like everything's bugged, like, oh my gosh, what if they're coming for us? You know, like what if it's, you know, but then to like, it's weird because they actually are. I just couldn't stop thinking about that, you know, to like see their like druggy living room,
Mhm.
but then to know that it's also full of cameras, you know, is in so many ways the actual druggie's like worst nightmare. You know what I mean? Like if you told somebody who actually trips on acid regularly that their like little pad is like full of cameras, they would lose their mind, you know? And I think that's why it's so like
Yeah, like that's a great point.
Anyway.
A great point to make. Like I think like any story about addiction, like the worst version of a story about addiction is like he was gonna be a lawyer, but then he touched fentanyl and became hopelessly addicted. It all went down the drain. Like it's all about like these personal failures, or as like this like victim of like these bad forces. For the most hardcore like addicts, like usually at the same, you know, anyone's been to an AA meeting or anything will know, like there's like usually like some kind of pain or like some kind, like it's the point of taking this narcotic is to make life a little bit more bearable in some way. They're not just paranoid because of the drug, they're paranoid because of like the actual reality of everything. And there's some like for the emotional stuff, like I would point to Keanu Reeves flashback when you see like when he had a wife and family, assuming that's real.
Right, yeah. I got the sense that it was. Or at least it's supposed to be.
They went to circle back around, like there's a lot to like dig into there, but or when Barris is a funny case where he's kind of a like an asshole, like there's something like psychopathic about him, and you can tell he's talking out of his ass a lot of the time, but it's not like he's not smart. Like maybe he's not as smart as he thinks he is, but like he goes and puts pressure on Bob Arctor when he goes to like sell him out to the police, because he sees that there's something up with who he is. Like he says like he's not who he says he is, and it's true because he actually is an undercover cop. He just doesn't know, you know, he's wrong about the specifics maybe. But like all the paranoia is rooted in like a real sense that something's wrong.
Right. What do you think of like the way that they do policing in this society? With like all these undercover cops and these suits, like the extent that they go to like hide the identity of the undercover cop, and like, I mean, what allows for the twist at the end ultimately, you know, that essentially that structure of like
What's really weird is that if you didn't have the twist, all of those elements would kind of justify themselves in the logic of the war on drugs, or like this idea of like protection and anonymity for law enforcement. Like so they give him money to try to buy past their dealer's ability to front for more. And then because of that money, that makes him suspicious, because why would he have all this money? So you gotta watch him. Like there's a funny there's a cause and effect there that makes sense.
Yeah, I like the you know, obviously it's, you know, revealed to be sort of a different situation at the end, but I like how for a while there the implication is always that someone in the group is involved with some bad people, quote unquote, but it's not like who would they be, you know? Like, when they describe the fact that they're investigating Barris, it's like, oh yeah, he's fallen in with some bad people, or they want to know who Donna's people are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But it's like, well, who are these people anyway, you know? Like, obviously, we find out, but in sort of a very, very unsuspected and roundabout way, so...
It's like that thing about, like, blind men touching an elephant. Like, everyone just, like, has, a different sense based on, like, what mismatch in their reality jumped out to them.
Right, just, like, whatever they're closest to.
Freck and Woody Harrelson, I completely blanked on whatever Woody Harrelson's name is.
Yeah, I comic relief, I think was his name.
Yeah.
Ernie Comic Relief.
Ernie Comic Relief Luckman.
Right.
He and Freck are never suspected of anything, right?
Not directly, I guess. Though Freck thinks he's suspected, you know? You get the sense he's very paranoid.
Yeah, there was that scene where he's, like, choking, and Barris is, like, just kind of watching him choke.
Right, and, like, pontificating about shit.
Yeah. And it's so weird, like, when he's on the phone with 911,
right.
It's so weird, like, he can't resist, like, the urge to try to explain things to people.
Right.
That's a guy, like, loves to be the smartest guy in the room all the time. But then he's like, I don't know, how do you think that he was hoping he would die, or do you think he was just so uncaring that he was in no hurry to go past his own pace?
I don't think that there was malice in it. I think that there was supposed to be malice in it, apparently, but I don't think that there was genuinely malice in it, you know? Because that was shown to, like, what? Bob Arctur as footage or something like that?
Yeah, because they bugged the house, and he's watching it later.
Like, I think the actual truth there is that he's literally just too strung out to do anything effective about it. Like, these people are useless at, like, functionally helping each other. You know what I mean? Like, you know, I think, you know, unfortunately, that if you and I were both frying on, like, 3 tabs of acid and one of us choked, the other one would have a really hard time solving that problem.
Yeah, it would be...
like, straight up. To me, it didn't seem like anything other than, like, oh, they're druggies, so they're just bad at this. You know? Like, this is a situation druggies don't tend to be able to handle.
What's scary about Barris, though, is just, like, how calm he is. He's like, oh,
That's
what's
true.
the address? I should know, because I recently mailed something to myself. And I just goes, like, this is my house. It goes outside. 709. Is that enough? Do you need a street name?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's like I don't know. To me, it sounds like he's tripping. You know what I mean? It sounds like he's straight up tripping balls. You know, like he doesn't have like the classical sense of like you know, what things are important. You know, like
right. Yeah. Besides like whatever thought he's on.
Again, yeah, I didn't read a lot of malice in it, other than just the unfortunate like malice of taking a lot of drugs and doing irresponsible things. You know.
Yeah, it seemed like, that he eventually responded. But then when...
Right.
I think there's something mildly... Maybe it's just like the way that people say that cocaine makes him mildly sociopathic. When when he gets better and Ernie's like haven't you heard of the Heimlich maneuver? Like, why didn't you do anything while I was dying? And Barris just like starts like critiquing his ability to chew, and I was like, how is it my fault that you can't chew? Like
that's fucked up. Yeah, Barris is really a pretty reprehensible human. You know what I mean? Like, if not like morally like evil, like willing to defend his own like gross negligence. Do you know what I mean? So that's like a kind of pretty bad in and of itself. You know?
Yeah.
I guess that would be a form of malice.
I guess an absence of altruism.
Yeah, absolutely.
Was I guess an absence of good is evil?
Right, but I don't think he has the will to commit evil, really, at least with respect to this situation. You know what I mean? I think he just, you know, the evil is in not caring to do anything.
Right.
So like when he like sells, so when he like tries to sell out Bob Arctur, he does try to like get one over, I guess, in a way that he just says like, yeah, I want to come over to your side if he's like trying to get a job there and prove how good he is at being a cop. But like as far as he explains it too, like he thinks he could be killed at any moment by Bob Arctur.
Right.
I love his reading. It's like, I could be murdered. Like it's like that was a great dynamic that he had with the police, where they're so like mean, like they're so like dismissive of him.
Mm-hmm.
And at this, while he in his own is still trying to do his thing where he's the smartest guy in the room. Like I got like this is like one of the best Robert Downey Jr. performances. I haven't seen Doolittle, so I can't say for certain. But though that like it was a great way that they played. Like he would say something about how he has connections, be like, okay, whatever, I don't care about the evidence, and then he would like, but that's not why I'm here. Like he would make a face like he's frustrated, but and also like a little bit disappointed in them, and then he would kind of just change the subject to some other thing. Like I wonder where they pulled out that. I don't know if that's in the book or something where they pulled out that dialogue, like the optic chiasm.
Yeah, I really liked all the flavor in terms of like the long-term side effects of the drug. You know what I mean? Like all this, like your right and left hemisphere are not communicating properly. You know, like a normal person would be able to see that that's a dog, idiot. Like, I really like that.
Yeah, there's only one right answer.
Right.
Those are interesting scenes with the doctors, where I guess it makes sense later when you realize it's part of the conditioning that like when the doctor, like you get this like fourth wall breaking shot of the doctor saying like buy her flowers, like part of the conditioning, I guess.
Right.
So maybe it makes sense because there's moments where like the doctors like go off script or contradict each other. Like one of them says like could I get better, and one of them says probably, and the other one says like absolutely not.
I thought they were doing a thing with the doctors that they were sort of like supposed to be like vague. They were supposed to like parallel like the literal hemispheres of his brain a little bit.
Yeah, they did have a shot.
I would have to rewatch it to flesh out. I would have to like rewatch it to flesh out that theory. You know what I mean? And like see what their behavior was supposed to be. But I got the sense that they agreed and disagreed on just enough things that I got the sense that they were just supposed to be echoing his, his decaying brain hemispheres, But
that's what I thought of. I didn't realize it was.
Oh, cool.
No, I don't know. I did not pick up at all on the flower at the end and the doctor saying, "Oh, go buy her flowers." I had not picked that up as part of his training. I thought they were strictly symbolic.
Yeah, I didn't really pick that up either.
I've seen the movie before, so I guess when she said like she'd buy her flowers, and she says like you could buy little blue flowers at any store.
Huh.
Right.
I guess like it stood out to me, especially because that shot is so weird.
Yeah, that's true.
Point of view of someone like talking right to the camera. Yeah, I think that's like definitely something that like would just like stand out maybe on a second viewing.
Right.
Unless like you got weirded out enough by the facing the camera thing. But those scenes are kind of disconnected. Like if like a lot of the movie is like the movie's like separated enough, and like the police scenes are the police scenes and the druggy scenes are the druggy scenes.
Right.
Like those doctor scenes are kind of, they're like a third place where it's like a break. Like let's just see where he's at now. So, a subplot there, like one of the things that joins the stories too is that he's not having sex with Donna, and it's really like
it's really getting
it's really grabbing his goat.
Right, because she isn't.
Like I'm guessing she just like didn't want to have sex because don't want to complicate her job too much.
Right, they're both cops. Cops can't fuck.
No, they shouldn't.
Right. What do we need, baby cops? Oh, I shudder at the thought.
Yeah, that's how we get more cops.
Right. Yeah, acting like they don't just shave off, like, the lowest denominator of, like, aggressive, low-intelligent men. Like, low-intelligent men. Like, yeah, okay. Can't make it in the military. Too cruel to do anything else.
Not fit or brave enough to be a firefighter.
Just strong enough to beat your wife.
Yeah, that's one thing about the ending. Like, it's fucked up how they, like destroyed this person's brain in order to do this investigation. And like that's already like cynical enough about how the police will like just see civilians as like instruments. Like the state will just see civilians as instruments for whatever ends they have in mind.
Right.
But at least like in the history of the United States government and drugs, historically they've been like a major supplier.
True.
Right? Like the CIA basically proliferated LSD to begin with. Like
they definitely did crack.
Right, because they wanted to like fund anti-communist operations in Latin America. Like maybe it's a case where there's this one drug that some pharmaceutical that's another like dystopian thing of like even the street drug is like this corporate monopoly. It's
yeah.
It's just like the pharmaceutical industry, but streamlined into where like they even have the underground market cornered.
Yeah, true. I mean, I did like that there were other drugs in this though. Like all the drugs you recognize were still in the story. Like like they smoke weed a lot. I think it's referenced that Donna does blow or something. Like
yeah, she has a lot of coke.
Right, yeah, lots of coke. They say that frequently. She's never pictured doing coke though.
But I guess we're supposed to believe she only faked taking the substance D, or that she took as I guess being the supplier, she might have had like sugar pills for herself.
Right, and I mean it seems like substance D is like a harder drug than like even cocaine. So just based on how they describe it. Yeah.
Oh, do you want to talk a bit about substance D?
Like in what respect?
I guess like we talk about it like as a symbol and all that, but like also like lore wise, like
let's drop some death.
Great, that's a great line. Like that sounds like something they might say.
Yeah, that sounds
like if
real.
It was real.
That sounds real. Dropping death sounds like that sounds like a drug.
It's like perfect for like the like courting danger aspect of it.
I was gonna say it's oddly romantic too. That line. Let's drop some death and drink tequila.
Yeah. And it's really sinister when you think about it, like Donna just like trying to feed him more so that he'll be, like she's like pushing the drug on him. We realize, but you don't notice because, if he is, addicted to this drug that is like the most powerful thing, like in terms of at least like habit formation.
Right.
She wouldn't need to push it very hard. She just need to say, I have it. I wouldn't know because outside of books and movies, of course. But like the way they, like the depiction of like, circles of addicts, like there were so many great touches of like, I don't know, clearly Richard Linklater has had experience, has been around these groups, or maybe like it's just so well sketched out in the book.
Right.
Like whenever they ask each other like how much D they're taking or how much, like the answer's always like not too much. I couldn't say for sure, not too much.
Right.
Okay, I was like a little more because of stress. Like I guess like that's a moment of not being self-aware, or at least not wanting to say it out loud.
Right.
Like when he's like walking out of her house or out of her apartment, she says she does a lot of coke, and then he asks her like, "How much coke are you doing?" Then she says, "Not too much." But she asks him to come back, and it's like, "Let's just have fun. We're having fun. It's cool." Like it's like this I guess she's playing a part, but it's like a you see there's a pattern of like these characters like trying to enable each other.
Right.
Or, in that way, and when they do that, it's like justifying to themselves a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like when the car breaks down and Robert Downey Jr. like gives some substance D to Ernie and offers some to Bob, he turns it down. He's like, "Man, that's what's fucking us up."
Gets him to take it anyway, though.
Yeah, then he gives it to him again. I forgot what he says to like justify it.
Mm-hmm. Somehow he convinces him. I don't remember exactly what the phrasing was.
But at the same time, like they talk about Freck as like, some kind of like like a case study. Or like he's gone. Like we're not like him.
Yeah, I think it was.
And also like the scene when he's like in the beginning, you start with Freck, like with the bug hallucination.
Mhm.
Which also, like, what a great introduction, by the way, with the music and just like
Right.
the energy. Like, I love that bit where like he takes a shower, he thinks he's better, um, and then like he picks one out of his hair and suddenly they pop all over again.
Right. Yeah, the dog. They start coming out of the dog. Yeah, when he gets in the shower with the dog, I was like, huh.
So like he's a nice guy. He cares about the dog.
Right.
But then like when he's in the diner with Barris, and Barris is like, okay, you've gone past the euphoric fun stage, and now you're in the harrowing, like bleak stage of your addiction. And he also says like either you're on D or you haven't tried it yet. He has this idea that, quoting I guess Mountain goes like there's one place this road ends up, but he only talks about it in that way when it's not about himself.
Right.
I don't know. How do you guys feel about the scene? Oh, sorry, I'm jumping around. How did you feel about the scene where he's cheating on Donna?
Oh, it kind of made sense. I mean,
there was some A to B. Yeah, I guess like
I got a little her warping back and forth between being Donna and being herself kind of confused me, especially when he like recreated it in the police laboratory or whatever.
Yeah,
because I was like, wait, was it real then? Because I thought that was just like a drug hallucination.
Yeah, that's definitely the thing to key into. I guess like the other stuff just kind of made me uncomfortable emotionally because I didn't like to see him spiraling in this way, but it does make sense to see it. Yeah, the transformation is definitely like a weird break.
Right. Because he recreates it later, you know what I mean? Like he's in the lab and he 3D projects it and he's able to watch it happen in real time. So we're supposed to believe that really happened somehow? I don't understand. Do you think it's supposed to be implied that undercover Donna slept with him using a different persona in order to I don't know what.
Just like keep like putting like emotional pressure on him or something?
Right.
They have the technology, clearly.
Right.
There are like two plot breaking or like logic breaking explanations maybe, where it is shown that that when he's looking at that he can look at the wrong thing, when he's looking at the shadows.
Right.
I don't know if you want to go on a Plato, but like it is shown like he saw a sheep when it was a dog. So it's possible, right? We're just seeing, we're just in his subjective experience, and
that totally makes sense.
But like he kept like rewinding, and it was at the same point.
I think it was the repetition that because at that point it starts to seem scientific and not just like a matter of like personal him tripping out,
Yeah, because like at this point, it is possible maybe that just to fuck with him, because they did say, when he's reviewing the tapes, he would do the maintenance on the cameras.
Right.
Or like when they say they're gonna bug his house, he's doing the maintenance on the cameras, and they say, wouldn't you know it's me if I'm maintaining cameras? And they say you can just edit yourself out of those.
Right.
So like if they can doctor it, like maybe they just threw that in there to fuck with him.
Oh yeah. Huh.
But there is a potential of it being like this moment where the movie breaks for a second, where like going back to that thing that we started with about like whatever, like paranoia, like coming about from a partial like experience of like true reality, or like like actually being onto something.
Right.
Because he was having sex with this random person like as a bit of like emotional transference or something. It was as a result of him being sexually frustrated with Donna.
Right.
So like there is like if there was like a surrealist movie or something, like there is like that like symbolic or emotional connection.
Right. That's true.
Did you read I don't know how much Philip K. Dick explains. Did you guys read the Man in the High Castle?
No, I've read very little Philip K. Dick. In fact, I think none.
Uh,
I saw some of the show.
oh, I started it. It felt a little slow
Yeah,
to me,
it is slow. I didn't finish it
but
ever.
it ran for a couple of seasons, so it must have had.
Must have picked up at some point.
So I don't know if how much of this is in the show, like, cause like the book would get kind of mystical sometimes. Like a big recurring thing in the book is that everyone's always consulting the I Ching.
Me too, frankly.
So you're already like breaking through the layer of reality. You seeing what Philip K. Dick saw.
I'd rather not.
The Man in the High Castle, for the listener, I suppose, is about like what if the Nazis won World War II, and it breaks off at the point of like what if Roosevelt had been assassinated or something. And so it depicts an America that was like divvied up between Japan and Germany. But within the fiction of the book, there's a novel that's called like something about like the Song of the Grasshopper or something. I forgot what that novel was called. Something about a grasshopper. But this novel within the book is like, what if the Allies had won World War II? And it's this book that everyone's always talking about. And like that's the titular Man of the High Castle. Supposedly the author of that book like lives like in this house, like far away from everything. Like a spoiler for the end of the book. Do you mind spoilers for this?
No thoughts on that.
It's a few. It's
Like
a few
okay,
years
I'll say like
old.
I don't give a shit about the audience. I'm just I'm asking y'all.
Oh yeah, I guess I don't care. You can spoil it.
Yeah, it's about the journey, not the destination.
Exactly. So and it's like not even like it's like a thematic point or something. Like it ends like with a small meeting with that writer, and I'm a little fuzzy on the details. So I guess also don't even worry about it. I'm probably getting this wrong. But at the end it's like they're asking like him like why he wrote that book or like what's up with that book. And they consult the I Ching on it, and like the hexagrams that come out of it like come out to basically like reality that he's actually writing what's true. So he's like kind of breaking the kind of breaking the fiction of the book and saying like he was like seeing things as they are. I guess like Philip K. Dick, like even in like that's like pretty grounded like science fiction. I guess this one too is kind of like a grounded science fiction thing, but he loves to like break reality at points. Like he was a guy for whom reality was broken all the time.
Yeah, true. Makes that very clear.
I don't know if you remember. I think it came up in that Glitch in the Matrix documentary. But I think also Richard Linklater talks about it in Waking Life. How one time Philip K. Dick like had this like psychotic break, and he said he pierced the veil of reality. He realized that we've been stuck in the 2nd century in Roman times this whole time.
True.
Well, true. Yeah, I always had a hunch.
Right, for sure.
I forgot like what the point, like what the meaning of it being the 2nd century is. Like maybe in the fact that we're maybe in the idea that we're all in the fallout still of Christian conquest.
Oh right, well that's probably true.
But I like either way, like the point is like Philip K. Dick is someone who's always like hounded by the idea that reality isn't what it seems.
Yeah, you get that sense with a lot of his work. I mean, geez, I watched what was it, Blade Runner, like a month or 2 ago, and that definitely had a lot of that in it.
And that one like in a personal way.
Right. Yeah, it's not all about the fabric of reality so much as the interactions we have with people.
You know, if you want to take the metaphorical way of looking at everything, you know, you have like this like technologically mediated reality,
right?
Where you just have like these artificial things stepping in for whatever emotional needs we need met. I think like Richard Linklater talking about substance D, like he didn't talk about what it does. And I don't know if watching the movie you get a sense of, how substance D affects you, like why one would take it. He just said that like the point of it is just to like add a layer to reality to make it bearable. Like it's just the idea of like coping with medicating yourself.
Right.
I guess you could think of like medicines as a technological layer for one's experience of like what a technological augmentation of like one's experience of reality.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's
And in some ways, like, and not to say that it's like a distraction or whatever. Don't take those pills. Look outside. Touch the dirt. That's real, man. Like, it's not like, I don't mean like that, because certainly, anyone who's been like in an extended like depressive like run like knows that is, you feel and then getting on medication, or in whatever way, you suddenly feel like a layer of distance kind of closed between yourself and reality.
right.
And I guess that's like two different things. But like I feel like in Scanner Darkly though, it's like, yeah, substance D somehow helps these people cope, but also like maybe it's the cross-chatter thing, maybe it's the way it's like living in unlivable conditions splits your awareness between like what you need to like know or think to get by, and what you know deep down is wrong, what's like gnawing on the back of your head. So they take substance D to cope, and at the same time they're like descending into this like paranoid madness where they think everyone's watching them or they're out to get them. Oh yeah, do you want to like go just through some like scenes in the movie, or is any like stray thoughts? We didn't talk about the scene with the bicycle.
Yeah, that one was really interesting. To me, that was just like a really good example of like their sort of like fantastical paranoia. Like
Yeah.
like yeah, I just I've done drugs. It was a lot like being on drugs. I was like, oh yeah, they're doing the thing where they're on drugs. Like to get so worked up about these pedals or whatever, or like the speeds or whatever, they had to go get the extra
the gears.
Like, I don't know.
I feel like I've done that before.
I know, yeah. That's to me, it was just like, oh yeah, that's a very familiar feeling of just being like strung out and confused. Like confused and anxious and strung out, like.
And what's funny about that is like the way they like rile each other up or hype each other up.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're figuring things out, like they're piecing things together in some way, and like Ernie's just like, let's go rescue the orphan gears.
Right.
Like I think like Winona Ryder and the team like did bring a lot of depth to Donna, and it's just like but it there's an unfortunate like society aspect of it where like a big part of Keanu Reeves's emotional journey is him dealing with not having sex with her, and other characters talk about having sex with her early in the movie. And there's also Barris, like in that scene with the bicycle, like she says something like, like there's a girl who got her bike stolen that looked kind of like that, and we should show it to her. And he just goes, well, no, actually this is a boy's bike, not a girl's bike, so it can't be that.
Right.
It's like they're like following each other's like narratives, but completely dismiss her like immediately.
Which is funny because she's the one selling them all the drugs.
Yeah. Yeah, and like and ultimately it's revealed like more than besides that she sounds like the most reasonable one in that whole scene. She's also like, it is revealed, the one that knows the most about all the layers of surveillance and artifice that's going on.
Right. She's the sort of the puppet master of it all, relatively speaking.
Any other scenes or anything that stuck out to anyone?
I guess what's sticking out to me, it's not really a specific scene, but just kind of like what that ending was all about, with this surveillance society setting up this one guy ultimately get a new path. I don't know. It almost makes me wonder if it was really that necessary, if they had all that technology, all that surveillance, if they really, really needed him to go in.
I mean, I think you can just distill the ultimate message of the story from this, and that is that like the war on drugs is like ultimately doomed to fail, and that you should focus on like removing abuse from the inside out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Which I it sort of seems like a no-brainer at this point, but like, having discussed all of it, but like, yeah, that, I obviously like the, when you realize it's the rehab company that's growing all of the drugs, you realize, oh, this is the opiate crisis. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is something, you realize the problem here isn't people dealing drugs on the street. The problem is the institutional level, is at the institutional level where we're feeding people drugs and not helping them correctly when they get addicted.
It's the deeper structures and systems involved.
Right. I mean, it's the whole thing is just like, it's like, oh, this is about oxycodone is what it really comes down to.
Right. Before the opiate crisis was a term we'd come to know,
right?
Like looking at 2006, but either way, the conditions for that, like I it's crazy you say that. I totally missed it. Like I talked about the pharmaceutical industry cornering the market on a certain illicit, like highly addictive substance, and that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was just so on the surface that it almost like didn't bear repeating. You know what I mean? I was just like, oh yeah, it's blatant, obvious, super metaphor for like the pharmaceutical narcotic industry. Like it's just all like it's for everybody who gets their Adderall prescribed and gets a little too high of a dosage. It's for white ladies chugging Xanax. It's for opiates. It's exactly what it is.
Yeah, it's all of that. The part that's like unbelievable to me is that they would even investigate it, but I guess it shows like it's just like this one guy. It is like a
the hopelessness of their investigation is what speaks for like it's hopeless in the sense largely what the money is wasted on is the targeting of like individuals and like social circles as opposed to again the actual problem that gets one guy whose brain is pretty rotted.
Yeah, I guess like that because I was wondering if it was like a little bit propaganda. I guess it shows them being evil enough that it isn't, but just the idea that the police would earnestly try to actually stop any of it. But I guess just showing how
ineffective,
limited their even if they were genuine, how ineffective it is. Like the reason why they can't use their massive surveillance apparatus on them is because New Path has a deal with the government somehow.
Right.
And I guess that would relate to reality, like to our day and age too. Like all these pharmaceutical companies, like they donate to all the congressmen.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely true.
Oh, I guess like speaking on that, like the way you have like these layers of paranoia or like seeing the world slightly correct or slightly incorrect or like fooling yourself. Like there was that, like, what do you think on the end there with the, I don't know, the cop guy that, then I guess it's revealed that Donna's name is Audrey, I think, when they're eating, and like the cop is basically, like the cop she's talking to, who's like more at peace with it, because like Donna feels like super horrible about the way she deceived and like destroyed this guy's life, like without his knowledge even. The cop is just like made more peace with it. It's like, I just have to believe that we're doing the right thing.
Well, the other cop isn't the one in the situation, you know what I mean? He has like no personal...
Yeah.
He has no personal stake in it, really. I guess that's just to highlight the difference between like police work and like, like in our personal relationships. 40% of cops beat their wives.
Right, and like the... it's... We're looking at cops like, like the interpersonal is also muddy. Like it's not like, for every one cop like hugging a child on the street, it's you get the home life of maybe even that cop,
right?
And for every Serpico, you just have they have all the corruption that Serpico was around,
right?
But this guy though, is completely unconnected to any of that, good or bad. So he just has to believe it's good, maybe thinks about it in the abstract, and he says some stuff about like I believe God's MO is to transmute evil into good. That's like a very like metaphysical outlook. Like you have to like go all the way up to the highest authority in order to justify what you're doing.
Well, again, I think that just shows maybe the unsoundness of it all. It's all like unstable. It's just not, it's all pointless. The war on drugs is
Oh yeah,
pointless.
It's pure ideology.
Right.
Pure
exactly.
ideology.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's actually great. Yeah,
I think that kind of puts a bow on it.
yeah.
Yeah, I think if we're gonna want to talk about next week, we better kind of call it now because
No, I think this was a good conversation. We went all the way. We talked about like the mechanics of the movie and talked about like the individual experience of someone addicted to drugs, all the way up to the society that makes them be addicted to drugs.
Right.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Oh yeah, we solved it. We unraveled society.
True. Society solved. No more problems. Utopia.
It's just ideology. Stop doing it, and you're welcome.
Right.
More pleasant evenings that way.
That was a Scanner Darkly. Join us next week. I believe we're going back into literature. We're doing a play this time, right?
Yep, Uncle Vanya, I think.
Uncle Vanya. So finally get to know what's behind all those lines and drive my car.
That's right.
Yeah, so join us next week for Uncle Vanya. This has been Pleasant Evenings Book Club. Signing out.